people. So either I got an old machine and it's just taking a long time, or I don't know. I'm assuming you want to chop up the skin as much as possible because you're trying to make it like a spread, right? Not a jam, not a sauce, but more like a butter, a smooth spread. So in this case, we're keeping the apple peel. Obviously, lots more nutrients in the apple peel. This is from a pesticide tree, people. It has no pesticides of any kind. Okay, so I'm just going to run this through, stir it through, because I can see up here there's bigger pieces of the skin. Down here you can see it started to look a little melty. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to stir it around. And we're going to keep doing that. And we're going to put it in the crock pot. Finish that off. And then we're going to cook it down even more. Hold on. Okay, people. So now you can start to see the difference. Okay? You can see this one has skin in it. This one here is starting to look like it's spreadable. Right? And don't forget, you're still going to cook it some more. Either on the stove, on very, very low, or in the crock pot. Again, the benefit of a crock pot is you don't have to stir it as often. Okay? And you can do other things and not worry so much. So just keep grinding it down until you feel comfortable enough to put it into your crock pot. It takes a little while, but in this case, patience is a virtue. Okay, so now as you can see, it looks much different. Right? When you cook it, leave the lid off. I speed read, people. So when I'm speed reading, it came to my mind as I was doing this that you don't want the lid on because it will get too hot. Okay? Now, here is the plums. Not much, but as soon as I'm done the apples, I'm going to be getting into pears and lots of plums. My landlady came by. I gave her a whole bunch of plums and whatnot. So in the meantime, I want to make something that I know my kids will eat, right? So I've got some coconut sugar here. You can see that's from food storage. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the very, very dark brown sugar, right? Dempster sugar, brown. It's very heaty. You could put 1 or 2 tablespoons of organic molasses, which I have some in the fridge, which I may do. I'm going to use some cloves. Obviously, I'm going to use cinnamon more so. I may put 1/8 of that, allspice, and I may put 1/8 of nutmeg in there, kind of make it like a spice cake, right? Only I'm going to be using the organic coconut sugar and the Dempster sugar with probably some, like I said, 1 or 2 tablespoons of molasses. Right? This here, the plum, I could see maybe putting a little bit of molasses in that and the Dempster. I mean, you could do the same minus the spices, right? You want to keep your spread a little tart. Now, this is unsweetened, so, you know, I'm going to take it tablespoons at a time because I don't want it to be overwhelming, right? So, and then you cook it on low. And as this is cooking on low, you stir it every 20 minutes or whatever versus every 5-10 minutes on the stove. And then as it thickens up even more than this, you get it to the consistency that you want it. You let your spices seep into your product, right? But as that's doing that, I'm going to start canning this juice. So my jars are ready. I got 7 in there, and I've got 7 in the for juice, right? In the oven. And as these are cooking, and then once my juice is done, then I'll start washing the smaller jars for this stuff and the blackberry. And then tomorrow, depending on my energy level, we're going to start the process all over again. Only next time, I'm going to juice the apples fresh, and then I'm going to put them into a pot, and I'm going to cook them up to 190, just to that pasteurizing point, and just see how that works that way versus the other pot that I used last night, which I was pretty impressed with. The only thing is, when you do it that way, you're cooking at 1 and medium once it starts to boil, right? If you want it at that 190 degrees, and even then, you know, it's a hit and miss. So anyway, I'll be back. Okay, so obviously I'm doing it my way. We got 1 tablespoon of organic molasses, liquid. Molasses doesn't go bad, people. This is a 1/2 teaspoon of cloves. That's 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. That's a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. So far, which I'll probably end up putting more in, is a teaspoon of cinnamon. This is a 1/4 cup of the organic coconut sugar. And there's your Dempster sugar, a 1/4 cup. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this all up. I'm going to taste it. Obviously, we're going to need more sugar, right? Not so much any more spices outside of maybe some cinnamon. I'm trying to make something that I know my kids will eat. Hold on. Okay, so I put another 1/4 cup of the coconut sugar in. So that's a 1/2 cup of coconut sugar in there. I put another teaspoon of cinnamon because my kids like cinnamon. And a 1/4 cup of white sugar. I'm mixing that in. I'm tasting as I'm going along. I don't want to make it too overwhelming. I could probably put a little more clove in there, but we'll see. Okay, so same idea with the plums. I put a heaping tablespoon, right? The thing about molasses, people, is it has a lot of nutrients. Okay, I don't have my magnifying glass on here on me, but you can see the potassium is at like 20%, right? And then we've got the calcium 10%. We've got iron at, I don't know if that says 15%. We've got magnesium at something there percent. And then vitamin B6, wow, at 10%. Okay, and the darker the sugar in terms of the Dempster sugar, you starting getting into your calciums. Okay, and then a coconut, well, not so much nutritional value other than it's healthier for you, for your digestion and whatnot. I don't know what the vitamin and mineral properties are in coconut sugar. I don't think there's too much, but maybe so. So I'm going to mix that up, and we're going to stir it up and see what that tastes like. And then I'm going to plug these in on, I already put this one on low. And then what you do is you just stir it every 20 minutes so it doesn't burn on the bottom, right? And you bought yourself some time. Plus you can continue canning. So after these are done and they're ready to go, then I'm going to start doing the juice. Hold on a minute. Okay, so I did it again. A heaping tablespoon of the molasses, another 1/4 cup of the organic coconut sugar, and a 1/4 cup. So we're at a half a cup of the Dempster, a 1/2 cup at the organic coconut sugar, and we're at 2 tablespoons plus a little bit more of the molasses. Stir it around, taste it. If I do anything more, it will probably just be a little bit of white sugar just to accent it off, right? Because you want a little tarty. But then on the other hand, you know, hold on. Okay, so all I did was just add in a 1/4 cup of sugar, white sugar. That was it. And we're going to bring it down. It's still a little runny. You can see, right? You want it a little thicker than that, I would think. So this is why you're going to cook it this way. But just make sure you stir it because there's sugar in there and that's going to burn on the bottom. So no lids, right? Remember that. You don't put lids on it. So each one has its own taste. And now I've got my little space here. I mean, it is what it is, people. We just work with what we have, right? And this is my little space now to get up into my jars and start getting ready for the apple juice. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. And then after the apple juice is done, depending on where this is at, then we're going to, this is like already warm. Then what we're going to do is we're going to can these at pretty much at the same time. So it's a progression. And then I'll be tired. And then tomorrow, that's probably when I'll start juicing again with the other juicer and then pasteurizing the apple juice at 190 and canning at 190. Okay? Okay. So what's happening here, people, as it's warming up, it's starting to smell like the cloves. I can smell the cloves and the nutmeg and that type of thing. Right? This one, I'm smelling the molasses. Obviously, little over 2 tablespoons of molasses in there, right? And so this one here, last week, I gave away some plums and stuff and apples and whatnot, right? To a couple of my neighbors. And everybody was giving everybody something. One neighbor gave me some rice with some sausage and peanut butter for Andre. And because she said she doesn't eat that stuff, right? Didn't eat peanut butter and whatever. And because I had given her some plums and some jam, and okay, and then another lady was running up and down the street, right, looking for a little dog, and was giving away some plums and whatnot to my other neighbor, right, who gave Andre a scooter, right? And then the other lady that was chasing her dog, she came back with this beautiful bannock. Oh, it was so, so tasty, man. It's so tasty that sometime this week or so, I'm going to go back and I'm going to ask her for the recipe. That's how tasty it was. So for something like this on the bannock, with if you wanted more cinnamon and spice with a little, just a sprinkle of sugar on top, you could have your bannock, spread that over the bannock, and then take your cinnamon sugar or whatever you want to call it, and just sprinkle it on that and just eat it up straight up like that, right? You can even do that for that too as well if you wanted to. So anyway, I just wanted to point out that I'm going to get a recipe for bannock, and I think this would be very nice with bannock. Okay, this is very delicious, by the way, and it doesn't even have sugar in it. I haven't stirred it yet, people, because, anyway. And I haven't put sugar in it. Now, I'm not going to put that much sugar in it. Maybe 1 to 2 cups, right? And I'm not going to get creative with it. I'm just going to put plain old white sugar for now. Maybe another day when I'm not so, stressed out, I suppose I could put a little bit of coconut sugar in there. Maybe half and half, right? And then, so what you do is you take your water that you boiled your jars in, and then you put it into your other canner that you're going to use when you submerge them. Because technically, they should be covered up by 1 inch or 2, right? And so, and again, we're doing it at 190. So this is boiled water. Got to be careful, don't drop the camera in there. So I'm going to put it on 3 because I have a little more experience with this now. And I know that 4 can get past 190. So we're just going to try and get it leveled off at 190 here, where it's just kind of staying at 190 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to bring this one to 190. And then once we get the 2 of them going, that's when we start filling up the jars, and when they're full, they go into there and they sit there for like 30 minutes. And then you bring them out, you put them on the counter, take off the caps, wipe them down. I like to let them sit out for about a week or so. So if they're going to pop, right, 4 days later, one pops, you can catch it, because when you put them away, after, depending on where you put them, the way I find out whether they popped in long-term storage is, they don't have the rims on, like the screw-on lids. They just have their seals, right? And I take my hand if I can't see, and I just feel as I go along, and I just feel, right? So keep that in mind, right? So if you leave them out on the table for about a week or so, if they're gonna pop, chances are they'll pop then. Okay, be back. Okay, so this screen, people, it's what it is. There we go. Okay, everybody gets their own spoon. What I'm finding here is, as this is on low, you can see it's getting the crusties in there. A wooden spoon isn't strong enough to get it off. Okay, but you don't want to lose it because it has nutrients. That's where your spices are. That's where your molasses is. So you want to be cognizant of that, and you want to scrape it back in gently and cook it and stir it into your because it's just only on the edging, right? You don't want it to accumulate and waste, right? Because again, this is where your spices are and stuff, right? And flavor. So, stir that back in and just keep it going like that. Use a wood spatula, nothing plastic, nothing metal. And if you notice, I'm going very gently with this, right? And then after you scrape it off, right, every half an hour or 20 minutes or whatever it is, take your spoon or your spatula or whatever, as long as it's wood, right, and put it and just stir it back in. This way you don't lose it, right? You don't lose that flavoring and nutrients. Same thing with this stuff, okay? Because as this is getting thicker and it's hot, it's sticking. So this one gets its own spoon too, right? So everybody gets their own spoon today, right? Just scrape it gently back in there, right? You don't want to eat glass. Just, even if you have to put it up there and just kind of loosen it up like that, right? And then push it back down, right? This one here, like I said, everybody gets their own spoon. Okay, so my opinion so far is I'm glad I did this. It's unusual going from this smell with the molasses to this smell with the cloves, going back and forth, right? And to see that the product is thickening, right? You can see it's starting to, oops, sorry, wandering eye. You can see it's thickening, people. Look at that. It's not even going anywhere, right? You wouldn't want to do this with blackberries because it has the seeds. unless you somehow remove the seeds, right? But you'd have to do that before you ran it through that thing. This one here too, right? You can see, right? That's like, at this point, like a soft butter. I want it a little thicker than that. I suppose when it's done, all you do is just turn it off the heat and put the lid on and just stir it every few minutes until the thing cools down. And then when you're ready to can it, you can just heat it right back in the same container. But don't forget to scrape off gently, right, the sides, because, you know, it's like the spices will travel, right? They'll go to the, you know, gravity, law of gravity. They'll cling to the side and you'll lose that. So you don't want to lose that. So just make sure you put it in there and stir it in. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with this so far. Okay, so all in all, I'm having a pretty good day here because I like the way this tastes too. So as you can see, I'm heating it up. It's on 4 right now. I think I got a ways to go. I played with this one safe. I just used plain old straight up white sugar, 3 cups. I figure that's about 1.5 cups per gallon. Okay, so that's more than enough, I think. I'm gonna taste it. I'm just giving it a chance for the sugar to dissolve, and then yeah, I got a long way to go. I'm only at 125, so 190. Okay, let me taste this. Hold on. Just stir it one more time. I'm pretty impressed with this, people. Like I said, though, next time I do this, which will probably be tomorrow, because I'm on a schedule now with all this fruit. It's kind of like one of those, you know, Thanksgiving dinners where you just have to, you know, cook for 5 days, pretty much, right? Well, that's pretty much what I'll be doing, and but it will be worth it in the end. So you can see how nice and rich that is. It's got that velvet touch to it, right? And we'll taste it right now. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I brought this up to 190. I held it there for a few minutes. And then, of course, it keeps going, right? So you have to turn down the temperature gauge. And now we got our lids boiling. The water's at 190. This is coming along pretty good. As you can see, it's changing its look here, right? And lids are almost done. This is what I wanted to mention. These are some old lids, people. This is what I'm using today. And just other miscellaneous lids that I have around the house. Okay, so when you're doing this, my temperature right now is on about 5. If I remember correctly, the last time I did this, I know I'm hollering, people, as the jars heated up internally, the temperature was rising. Remember, it went up to 210. So I just turned it down. All we want to do is just keep it at 190. Right? So it's at 5 right now, but as it heats up, I'm going to put the timer on. As soon as I verify it's 190. And then we're going to do this for 30 minutes. And probably over the next 15 minutes or so, you're probably going to hear me say I turned down the temperature down to 4. Okay? So yeah, we're at 190 now. Okay? From what I can see here. Alright, we don't want to go any higher than that. So as it heats up, see, it's pretty much staying there. But it can creep up real fast as it heats, right? I can see it moving maybe. So anyway, I'm going to start timing now. It's almost 6:30 now. So I'm going to give it 30 minutes like this. Just monitor it. Yeah, you see it's starting to go up a little bit. So in a couple of minutes, you want to turn it down just maybe in between 4 and 5. And that's what you're going to do. Try and keep it level. And then what happened was, I'm a little shy here. You can see that. So there's the plum juice, right? So I'm going to start heating that up now. And then I'm going to top this one off for the next batch. And hopefully I'll be able to get 2 jars out of this, right? It doesn't really matter because I still got like 3/4 of a plum tree, right? I just gave a whole bunch away today. So I don't particularly want to be doing plums any more than I have to at this point. I want to finish up with the apples first. So because plums got picked today, I don't have to worry about it too much for a few more days, right? Because it's like the raspberries, you got to go it every 2 days. So I'm just going to top this off with a little bit of plum juice and can it that way with whatever else we have. And then after that, I go on to the blackberries And then this stuff here, right, which you can see is starting to thicken up even more, right? And again, make sure you take that off the sides and put it back into your product, right? Because that's what gives it flavor. And you know, it's a different form of cooking, right? And it helps to thicken it as well, right? This plum one, it makes me remind me of something that my mother used to make when she was alive. It was a Ukrainian dish outside of putting plum into pierogies, right? I don't particularly like plum in pierogies, but there was something else, like a petaha, right? There was something else she made with this kind of stuff. I don't remember what it was. Maybe that's where the molasses came from. I don't know why I was thinking about molasses today. It's not something I normally think about. But I just thought this would be a good thing to put molasses in terms of, you know, adding the nutrients, right? And it's unusual going from the molasses smell to the clove smell. Okay, so moving along, it's almost 8 o'clock at night here, people. And I got a long way to go. So we got 6 jars of apple juice, and then a jar with about that much plum juice in it, just to top it off. So that's a little bit of apple. Well, that's mostly apple with just a tad bit plum juice. We've got 1 jar of plum juice in there. And whatever's left in here will either be drank up. You can see it's not very much. Or maybe I'll just put it in with the blackberry. This is almost done, I would say. Right? Kind of looks like maybe it's done. But I'm not going to can this yet, so this will still get thicker. Same thing with that in there. What I'm going to do is, I'm like really, really hot, people. I'm going to go back to the apple tree and see what fell off it, because it's very ripe right now. And I know if I bring it home and wash it up and cut off the bruise right away and then put the apple into a bowl, put the bowl in the fridge, what's going to end up happening is the juice going to leak out of the apple. I can almost guarantee you that. So I think that's what I'm going to do, because otherwise those apples are just going to rot on the ground, right? So why not get a little more apple juice straight from the apple before I start canning again tomorrow, right? Juicing tomorrow. I'm going to be juicing and getting the juice ready for the canning, and then probably the following day if I don't do it tomorrow. But I'm getting pretty tired and I'm pretty sore right now. But besides that point, we'll be back. Hold on. Okay, so before I go too far ahead of myself here, as you can see, I'm jarring everything up now. Okay, it's about 1/4 of an inch headspace, right? So I'm a little off over there. So I got myself 6 jars of apple juice already canned. There's that apple juice with a little bit of plum juice, and then the one, right? And then I'm doing this right now, so we'll see how much we get there. If I can get that many jars, 7 jars, that would be great. I figured 2 in there. And then I don't know about the raspberries, because it's like 10:30 at night, and I'm getting tired, and like my grass needs to be cut. So I might go out tomorrow and cut some grass, right, before I start another batch of apples, but we'll see. Hold on. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of this stuff. It's 185 to 180. 180 to 185 for a butter. Like an apple butter. I guess in this case a plum butter. Right? I guess you can do peach butters. This is what you call a butter. A fruit butter. Because it's blended. Right? It's smooth. It's spreadable. Like a butter. So you do it, these are pints. I think even up to a quart, about 10 minutes. You don't have to do these ones very long, right? For about 10 minutes, 1/4 inch headspace. Don't forget to wipe your jars. All right, so we're at 180 now. So now, so it's 10 after 11 in the evening. So just give it 10 minutes and keep an eye on it. And then I've got this here, so the kids can try it tomorrow or the next day. That's the plum, and that's the apple. But I want to get that bannock recipe, right? Hold on. Okay, so that's all done now. It's 11:30 at night, August 12th, I think, 2016. And I still have the blackberries to do. everything's kind of hot right now. The jars have been sitting, you know, they've been boiled, and you can see they're in the oven there. So, and the canner is hot, so I should probably just bring out the blackberries and heat them up. I want to put them in this size. I've only got like 4 or 5 jars in there, and then whatever's left over, I guess, will go in that, right? And then that's done. And then tomorrow, this is where it gets grueling, people. My grass has been needing to be cut for the last 2 weeks, right? Nobody's helping me with it. And I gotta get seeds, because the seeds, like the celery seeds and those type of things, and Swiss chard seeds, they need to, you know, be picked, right? And I've got leek seeds, got lots of seeds that need to be picked, right? So maybe tomorrow I'll pick the seeds, bag them up, do whatever, and mow the grass. And I have to move these after some point onto the table, have to wash them down, right? You gotta let them sit for a few days, so if they're gonna pop, they're gonna pop, right? 9 times out of 10, that's when they'll pop, is within the first 4 or 5 days, right? If not the second day. Okay, so let's see what happens with the blackberry. So that's pretty good stuff there, I would say. Okay, so it's 20 to 12 here. The thing about canning, it's a lot of prep work. You know, you're boiling jars and lids, and you know, especially if you're going to start doing it 180, 185, you know, the 190 degree Fahrenheit, and you know, back and forth with the water. And so, you know, don't let that distract you away from doing it though, right? Because it does make a difference. So this is the blackberry. I like the consistency of it, to be honest with you. I put 3 cups of just plain sugar in there. I'm not going to get any fancy dancy with it. It's tart because blackberries are coming into the end of the season. It's cold right now. So I'm going to heat it up to 190, 185, right? Same thing with the water. Do it the same way. Only this one here is delicious for a blackberry. It probably could use 1 more cup of sugar, but well, maybe I'll add 1 more because it's tart, right? It's very tart, because you're going to use it like a syrup, right? You can see that. I just don't want to turn it, well, I wouldn't turn it into a champ because I'm not boiling it. So I'll probably add 1 more cup of sugar. And if I really wanted to get cocky, because Andre wanted me to pick some blackberries today, you know, I could go and get the red ones and the few black ones that I can find, because we're coming to the end of the season, and I could cook that up and can that, and it would be almost equal to a lemon. If you could do something with it, right? Maybe I will. Maybe I'll make a small pot. We'll see. Hold on. Okay, so there's the blackberry sauce that you can run through a strainer, take out the seeds, add a bit of water, and you've got juice, right? You can take with or without the seeds, because there's some seeds in there, and it's great. It tastes really, really good. 4 quarts and 2 pints, so that's pretty good. And look what I got there. Black walnuts, 2 different kinds. This one I don't like to peel so much. This one's not so bad. I don't know how much I'm going to do, but I still have some in my freezer from the last time I did this, vacuum sealed, so they're perfectly fine, right? I love the way black walnut smells. It smells so good. It's like a mint almost. But what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to wash these, and I'm going to cut off the good part, right? And I'm going to dehydrate it. It's going to turn black. That's why they call it black walnut. And as I'm working with it, my hands are going to turn black for a week or whatever, you can see. And then I'm going to grind it up in a food mill or whatever, blender. And I'm going to brush my teeth with it, people, especially on this one side where I'm having some issues. And I've been having them for like 6 years, ever since I moved into this house. I had some dentistry done. Dentist filled a tooth after I moved in here, and within 3 months the pain started, and it's just been getting progressively worse. And so I don't know what to do, right? Because even if I was to go see a specialist, I don't have the money for the specialist. And I don't have the money for anything extra outside of, because the specialist will want to do something, right? So I'm going to try that with some baking soda. It might probably kill the nerve or something. I don't know. I have nerve damage because I fell off my grandmother's railing when I was young, and my teeth were knocked out, and dentists put them back. So I already have a couple of root canals. So I'm sure it's related to that. Or the last dentist that did the filling just didn't do a very good job, and it's just killing off more teeth. So I don't know. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make myself some toothpaste. And I'm going to take the protein. And I guess I'm going to do these because the tree is dropping the fruit. You can see that. I'm going to do these off and on because it's a very difficult job. And I'll freeze the nut after I'm done. Hold on. I'm going to upload this now.